Oh, I'm so sorry you can't hear this. Ladies and gentlemen, it is the 1MC, a Holly community podcast broadcasting from the basement of the American Legion. That's right, ladies and gentlemen, the bunker, a secret speakeasy hidden away. You may not have heard about it. The V.F.W. hosting the podcast in partnership with the Legion, and we'll do a little roundtable introduction. Who do we have with us this evening? My name is Rodney, member of the Legion and the V.F.W. To my left, we have...
Hello, Holly. This is April Brandon. You might know me from, well, let's get honest, Facebook. I'm the admin for the Holly Open Discussion Facebook forum. I'm a local counselor and a Gold Star mom and president of the library board. And to my left, we have...
I'm Sherilyn Everly. I'm a lifelong resident here in Holly. I've served on boards, committees, all kinds of things. And I love my town, and I'm just happy to have this forum to be able to reach out and hopefully teach y'all a little bit more about Holly. And to my left...
As we shift the microphone over...
And trying not to make extra noise, this is Kristen Watt. I am also a trustee on the library board. I am a precinct delegate here in Holly. I am a community advocate, and I'm also running for county commissioner for the 7th district. But most importantly, and I'm also a business owner, I guess that should come up in the context too. I own Thoughtful Threads in Midtown, and I'm a volunteer and just someone who loves my community. And I'm super excited to be here to talk to you tonight about Holly.
Outstanding.
And to my left,
Jim Clark. I've been in Holly for 30 years. I've been on the council. I'm currently on the planning commission, the zoning board of appeals for the township, and I've served on almost all the boards and commissions in the area, including being a founding member of the Headwaters Trail.
Outstanding. And last but not least...
And I am Paul Butler. I am born and raised Holly and a Marine vet. I am a member of the Legion, and I just love my community, and I'm glad to be out here.
All right, so ladies and gentlemen out there, here is what we are trying to do. This is simply a community podcast where it's a reach out. Any civic group that would like to get involved, you're welcome to contact us. We do have an actual email address, and that's 1mc@vfw5587.org. Again, 1mc@vfw5587.org. Feel free to reach out to us. 1MC, interesting title if you have any curiosities. That is actually the name that we use in both naval ships and Coast Guard vessels for a microphone system on the ship that once you hit that button, everybody's got to hear it. You may remember Sean Connery from The Hunt for an October. Re-verify our range to target. That was the 1MC, ladies and gentlemen. So with that, here we go. It is our first teaser podcast. We'll be putting this one out on Facebook first, and then we'll launch it live on the next episode. So here we go, ladies and gentlemen. Who's kicking it off, kids?
Well, I guess I will, because this is something that I've really wanted to see happen in Holly for a long time. And, living in Holly can get confusing because you live in Holly Township and you might live in Holly Village, and you do live in both if you live in the village. And who do you pay your taxes to, and where did the police come from, and what water system am I on? And this initial podcast, is really to kind of help separate some of those things out. And we're going to focus mostly on the village this evening. And I'm going to ask April if she'd be willing. She has done a lot of work and research and put together a really nice organizational chart and some description of duties. And if you could just start and talk to us, April, about in the village. I'm going to back up. I'm going to say a couple more things about the governance of our community, which falls under the state of Michigan's rules. So Holly Township is 36 square miles. We're up in the northwest corner of Oakland County, and down in the southeast corner is the village. And the village I like to think of as a special assessment district. We have a whole separate government on top of the township government that we as village residents, our property taxes go to support. We also support the township. So rather than get into all the differences, what I'd like to do is have April maybe talk about the village and services to start with.
Sure, Sherilyn, thank you. So I just recently moved to Holly about 4 years ago, and I discovered very quickly how confusing local politics is. So I took it on myself to make a flow chart of Holly Village governing bodies and Holly Township governing bodies, because frankly, this stuff is so confusing to anybody. There's local politicians in office that don't really understand how some of these things work. So I thought it would be nice to have just a small condensed kind of binder that went through the basic descriptions, something you could look at to see who's in charge of who's in charge of what, who they report to, who to turn to if you have issues with anything from sewage to your water bill to which police department you need to talk to. So many people think that they live in Holly, and they do, but Holly Village Police are on the Holly Village budget, so that's the Holly Village taxes, so they can only serve that 3-mile radius.
Right.
And you might live in Holly, but you might have Rose Police or Davisburg, but you have a Holly address. So this describes who to call, when and where, and
Well, basically, I'm just going to correct you a little bit. If you're outside of the village of Holly, you get your services from the state police. And that's true for Holly Township, Rose Township, and Groveland. I believe Springfield Township has a contract with Oakland County.
well, here we have Springfield and Davisburg. Your agency is Oakland County. If you're in Groveland, it's Michigan State Police. Rose Township, Michigan State. Township of Holly, Michigan State. And the Village of Holly is, well, the Holly Police Department,
The village, yep.
which is dispatched by Oakland County Sheriff's Office.
Yep.
So if you call 911, you're fine. They're going to dispatch you to the correct center. But if you just go ahead and call Holly Village Police during, like the department direct, not 911, but their actual phone number, and you don't live in the village, you're going to be sent on a little adventure figuring out which police department is yours.
Could I chime in just a word real quick?
Yeah.
This is Kristen. Hey, first of all, I want to thank you for taking this project on, because I'm going to tell you right now, the conversation you two just had, I'm already privy to this information and I'm already confused.
Yeah.
So what I wanted to say though is this is so important, and I've reviewed your flow chart, and I think it's so important, especially because you are the admin or moderator. Admin to the open the Holly Open Forum, which is the largest of all of, we have
The Facebook.
50 Facebook groups, but
Are there 50?
No, that's an exaggeration.
I was
Now,
like,
hang
I'm
on.
missing-
There's Holly Matters.
I'm missing out.
Holly Really Matters. Holly Super Duper Duper Matters.
Yeah. So we have a lot of groups, and that's okay because
And-
that's
and I
for
hate dollar
everybody.
stores.
But the reason that I think this is so very important is there's 8.4 thousand people, I believe, in the open forum roughly, and that we have 12,000 people between the village and the township roughly.
right. Yep.
So the majority of our citizens are in this group, and as the admin, as someone like I'm in the group just watching it, there's so many questions, so many honestly legitimate concerns by our citizens for all types of issues.
Right.
And I think a lot of times it's like, oh, who do I go for this, or who do I complain to about that? And to have just a basic kind of civics 101 for our community to just be educated on this is important, because knowledge is power and our community concerns matter. And
Are you the only admin?
No.
That's a lot of power in one person's
No,
hand.
my goodness. No, Lloyd Bingham created the group. So he's creator and admin. And then Courtney Coster is one of the moderators.
Okay, so kudos to those people as well for
Absolutely.
And Lloyd Bingham is a veteran as
and
well.
for a fine point,
helping out.
for a fine point, you don't have to live in Holly to be in the group. So some of these people grew up in Holly, or they might
Right.
vacation here, or have family here, or they have a business here. So I don't want to make it sound like half of Holly's in that
No,
group.
but
That's
it is.
not
It's still
necessarily
the
case.
biggest reach, and so I think after I've lived here five years, and then there was a little gap in 2 years before that. I've seen a lot of the same concerns, questions, and they are absolutely, even though obviously social media can get a little wild, they're legitimate concerns or questions, and I'm really happy to be a part of this to even try to break this down for people.
I have to say, again, and most people don't know I'm from, of course, out of town, Las Vegas, so it's a bit of a change. But the level of community that I've experienced, especially in the groups and seeing all that going on, I've seen everything from, I think my favorite was somebody had a hay bale that was dressed up like a minion stolen.
Yeah.
Oh,
And
yeah.
then like the whole community
Yeah.
was like, "Where is this?"
We came out with pitchforks
I'll
for that
tell
one.
you what, man. I was
Yeah.
amazed. I mean, all kinds of things. Like when it came
Yeah.
to plowing situations, everything. Like in a moment's notice, somebody's got something posted on there. I think it's such a welcome resource. So kudos, guys. Kudos.
If you would have been here when Vern turned up missing, that
Oh, my
that
gosh.
was unbelievable. He's a local who he walks around town and everybody knows him, and he got mad and left town and nobody knew where he was, and this community went upside down looking for him in no time flat. He was found at a diner. He was
you know
okay
what? That's-
In Waterford.
in Waterford.
But that's one of the things is no matter what, this community always stops and comes together. And
Steps
it's
up.
absolutely
I mean, it's a
wonderful.
small community. Everybody's family. I mean, you go into any store you go into, you can go into a gas station, you can go into a dollar store. You better plan your whole day around just going to the dollar store because you're going to run into everybody
Yep.
at the dollar store. You might think, okay, I just need a gallon of milk. You go in for a gallon of milk, you spend 2.5-3 hours there, and it's everybody's accustomed to that.
And it doesn't
Because-
even have to be people you already knew. They're new
Oh
friends.
no!
Make new
Yeah,
friends.
you walk in and one person's got a box of cookies, and you're like, oh, those are my favorite cookies, and they're like, yeah, they're my favorite too, and all of a sudden you're everybody's family.
Well,
Yep.
I appreciate you doing the flow chart, April, and I hope that the intent of this premiere podcast is really just to educate people and hopefully help you function in our community more effectively.
Exactly.
Thank you for your time and effort in putting this together. It's such a great resource.
Thank you. I'd like more attention for it.
Thank you, April.
Thank you. Thank you
you.
for the thank yous.
April's amazing.
Well, Paul, one of the things that you said when we met together the last time was that you didn't quite understand, or please forgive me if I'm not saying this right, but how do people get into positions of power? Is it the business owners? Is it the old-time families?
And it's just like April and I had talked about shortly before, is we had a discussion that you go down the street, you ask people, what's the structure of Holly, and that's where everything comes in, and that's why this is so important, because lack of knowledge is fear.
Right.
When you don't know what you're getting into, it's scary.
Yep.
And there's people that don't want to step up because they don't know how to.
Right.
So I feel, if people start getting out there and learning, then you have people that are going to want to do more.
Yeah.
Because now they have the knowledge. They build a little bit more self-confidence.
They understand the process.
And they get out there and they help, and they get more active.
Well,
And
that
that's-
was one of the things I was going to ask you to do next, Miss April. We have lots of opportunities for people to volunteer and park cleanups and things like that. But if you could just talk a little bit about elected positions in the village versus those that are hired, and then maybe those that are appointed.
Yeah. So let's see. Let me flip to those
She's
pages.
referring to her beautiful organizational
My handy
chart.
dandy binder here. So in Holly Village, we vote for our village council. By we, I mean the people that live in Holly Village vote for the people on the village council. The village council appoint, well, let's see, the clerk treasurer.
Well, let's just back up. The council is comprised of a president and 6 members. Okay, so those are all elected people.
And those are 4-year terms, except for the president, who's 2. Those 4-year terms, the other 6 people are staggered every 2 years. So every 2 years, you get to vote for a couple of seats on there. And
4 seats? Yeah. Okay, every 2 years, 4 seats.
okay, gotcha.
April, just a quick question. I don't want to keep interrupting, but just for people that might not know, because it is your duty and right as a citizen in the village to be able to reach out and contact these people. Would it be not a bad idea to name who is our current president and who is our current council members?
Oh, she's going to make us. She gave us a test
No,
we're not
I
prepared
can
for.
do it. I just wanted to say because
Well,
if
no, I
someone
think-
listening needs
yeah,
to know these
sure.
names.
Well, first of all, I think that's a great idea. That's okay. And now that's not something I included with the flow chart because I don't want to redo it every
And
2
it
years.
changes.
But,
No, but for
but
this,
you
I
can
just
always
thought-
access that information online at hollyvillage.org. Right now, our village president is,
Tom McKenney.
I knew that.
No, I'm
No, I
happy to
didn't.
do-
I forgot.
There's President Tom McKenney,
And the president pro tem is
Deborah Musgrave.
correct.
And for those who don't know what a president pro tem is, that means if President McKenney cannot be present for a council meeting, then the pro tem would step in like a vice president.
So it's like a vice president. Okay.
Correct, but it is called the pro tem. And if for any reason the president should step down or for any reason be removed from office, the pro tem would then become the president and a new person would be appointed to the board.
I hope everybody's paying attention because there's a test at the end.
No.
Yeah. And it's not multiple choice
So, but this
either.
is pretty easy because a lot
Yeah,
of these names
it's
are
really
very
easy.
well known in town. So we
Yeah.
have President Pro Tem is Deborah Musgrave.
Yep.
We have Richard Kinnaman. We have Jim Perkins. We have Ryan Delaney. We have now I'm forgetting. Oh, Rick Powers.
Rick Powers. Yeah.
And I'm missing somebody. Who am I missing? This is sad for me.
The police officer.
What?
The guy who is the retired police officer.
Oh,
Weinbrenner.
Buster
Mr.
Weinbrenner.
Weinbrenner.
Yes, I'm sorry. So, but that's who's currently on the village council.
Yep.
One of the most important things that they do for our village is hire the village manager. That's a paid position. It's a hired position. You have to have qualifications for that position.
Yes.
Correct.
Now, I'm not entirely aware of what all the qualifications are. And with certain positions, you have to live in the area. That is not one of them. Village manager does not have to live in the village of Holly. Our current village manager is Jerry Walker. He does not live in Holly Village. I do think he lives in Holly Township.
No,
Nope.
he lives
Walled
in
Lake.
Walled Lake.
Or White Lake.
Or
Walled Lake.
Walled
Oh,
Lake.
you guys are a bunch of stalkers.
Maybe he doesn't want you to know where he lives.
No, he talked. This is not a bad thing. This is just us informing people of what is going on, and
Right.
Well, he
What's
doesn't live
allowed.
here.
He doesn't have to live here, and that's,
That's
okay.
right.
Yep.
So the village council, they appoint the clerk treasurer. That's also now the clerk treasurer in the village is a single position. That's one person,
correct.
Right.
and that is a paid position. Now
Currently, Debbie Bigger.
they also hire the fire chief, the police chief, and what's the name of the position for the leader of DPW? Is that director?
I believe so.
Public Works. Director of Public Works.
So, and that's Brian
Brian
Clausen.
Clausen.
Yep. Yep.
Our chief of police is Jerry
Jerry
Narsh.
Narsh. Yep. Steve McGee.
Is our fire chief.
Yes.
Great guy. I had to
love them
I had
all.
to use our emergency services recently, so I'm really glad for these
Steve
people
McGee
myself.
is one of
Yeah.
all of them. They're just fantastic.
They are.
Steve's one of the ones I haven't been able to track down yet. He was the hardest one for me to find initially when I was out making introductions. I think he had his feet.
You can call 911.
Yeah, I know.
So
He had his feet were in the sand somewhere. He was out at a beach, you know. We
Oh,
were
he
all
might have
sitting
been on
here buried in the
vacation,
snow when I
Yeah.
was out playing around.
You saved the best for last. Then Steve
No,
McGee
yeah,
is
I
a
did-
wonderful.
I think it was David that I did get to meet over at the fire department. I think he is the fire captain. Shout out to David. I hope I got his name right.
Could be. Although I will tell you, since you are from Las Vegas and we all love a good Holly history anecdote, Steve McGee, we were able to honor his mother last summer at the Holly Women's Memorial. She is the first female fire chief in the state of Michigan. And she was the fire chief here in
Outstanding.
Holly.
Groveland.
Groveland, I'm sorry. Thank you, Jim. This is why we're all here, to check each other. But bottom line is she was the first female fire chief in the state of
Michigan, yep.
Michigan.
Oh, that's
Yeah.
outstanding.
And she
Outstanding.
is still with us
Oh yeah. Yep.
and kicking.
She's pretty awesome. Now, there's other ways that people can get involved if you don't want to run for office, and that would be the commissions and the committees.
well, and sometimes even councils and boards, if someone has to step down, there's ways to make sure that the councils and boards know that you're interested in picking up a position if someone walks away, but you don't want to campaign and you don't want to be elected by the voters. People have different reasons to not want to campaign. So, for instance, the library board had someone that had to move out of state, so they can't be on the library board anymore. So we solicited interest from the public. We gained some letters of interest, and some people supplied us with resumes as well, and then we appointed someone to that seat. So you don't always have to run to be on these boards.
Exactly.
And you don't have to even be a part of the political infrastructure to be an active member of the community. I mean, you can contact any one of them. You can contact us. You can contact probably just about anybody in Holly. You can get involved. I mean, you can be part of anything that this community does.
Yep.
It's just a matter of staying updated. I mean, there's park cleanups that you can do. There's,
DDA.
trail
Oh, yeah.
cleanups. I mean, there's
Jim had some
memorials, everything. You can get involved wherever you want.
As a 30-year newbie, Jim had some approach when we discussed about this. Remember when we talked about it, honey, how hard or easy it is?
Yeah, Holly is very welcoming. If you fill out a one-page form, citizen participation, maybe talk to some people that are in positions of power. I lived in Holly for about a year, and I was appointed to the Zoning Board of Appeals. Within another year, I was appointed to the Planning Commission, and nobody even told me till I read it in the paper. Those things can happen.
Hashtag Holly life.
New people can get involved very easily in Holly, where in a lot of communities that would never, ever happen.
Yep.
I would be remiss if I didn't mention the two beautiful veteran service organizations that we have here in Holly, the American Legion, Post 149, plug.
Yep.
And of course, V.F.W, Post 5587. And of course, we have the Holly Area Veterans Resource Center as well. These are all resources at the veterans' disposal out there. Throwing that out there, and we're also quite involved in the community, as you can see. We're hosting a podcast.
I actually have a page of veteran services in this binder as well, which includes a few things. Let me flip to that page.
April, before you get into veterans, since you were kind of going through that flow chart, since we talked about board appointments, do you want to maybe list the boards and commissions we have real quick that people could be appointed to before we move on to other
In Holly
entities?
Village, we have the Historic District Commission, we have Parks, we have Planning Commission, ZBA, and
ZBA is Zoning Board of Appeals.
yeah.
Jim, you want to speak to what planning and zoning do? That's probably, I mean, Parks is pretty obvious, and I forget what the first one was, but
Holly has a code of ordinances, and the Planning Commission is the first organization you come up against if you want to do something, to build something, modify something, whatever.
or build like a new Taco Bell.
Right. And if you don't comply with the ordinance, you may have to go to the Zoning Board of Appeals, and they can grant a waiver and the Taco Bell is a prime example. The plan for the new Taco Bell is not set back 75 feet from the road. So they have to go to the Zoning Board of Appeals to get permission to be only 70 feet back.
He was tapping the table.
Thanks for that, Jim.
Podcast, no.
So, and Parks is really confusing for a lot of locals. I think we've
Yeah.
all had confusion at different points of, well, who to blame for what.
Yeah.
So, let's talk about Holly Village Parks. The village parks are Crapo, Cyclone, Lakeside, Ganshaw, and Waterworks.
So, yep, those are our 5 village parks. And then the other parks in the community that are run by the township are Sorensen Park out on East Holly Road and Holly Township Beach.
To be clear, Seven Lakes State Park has nothing to do with any of us.
Right.
That's correct.
Oh, did I
That's a
say
state
7
park.
Lakes? No, I didn't.
No, I just wanted to be clear in
Yeah.
case someone's new to the area and they don't know.
Right, yep.
The farmstead,
Oh, well, the farmstead's not part of the Holly Parks.
Right.
That's another thing. But
So
we're
we
not
have-
talking about the township tonight, so.
And for camping and hunting and swimming, we have Holly Rec Area and Seven Lakes State Park. And those are neither village nor township.
Yep.
Holly Rec, right? Not village or township.
Nope, that's a state, and then you've
See,
got
this is confusing.
the county
Groveland
parks.
Oaks.
Groveland
Groveland
Oaks
Oaks.
is a county park.
Oh, yeah, that's the
And-
ORV park, correct?
No.
Or the art.
that's
See, I didn't even
And
know.
you live
Groveland
here.
Oaks.
camping and a beach.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay. I don't
Okay.
do
And-
bugs, so
And
that's why I don't know.
Holly Oaks is the ORV park.
Okay,
They stole
perfect.
our name.
So I do think, since we're talking about parks for just a moment, I would also say Jim mentioned earlier about one of the founding members of Headwaters Trails. And I think that all of our parks have beautiful things to offer, and they're just, they each have their own ambiance. But I can't lie, I am partial to Waterworks Park because of our amazing resource, which is the lifeblood of our community, the Shiawassee River.
That's right.
And for those that maybe don't frequent that one as much, it's just a lovely, lovely area.
How long does the Shiawassee River run?
Don't test me on that, Paul, because it goes all the way to Owasso.
I
and
will tell
Chesaning.
you, the National River Trail goes all the way to Corunna, is the official National River Trail. And the cleanup is this weekend.
So the Shiawassee River runs all the way up through Saginaw. It stops at Saginaw where it branches off and it turns into the Saginaw River.
Right.
Saginaw River runs to Saginaw Bay.
Correct.
So, in essence, Shiawassee River starts right here in Holly and runs all the way to the Saginaw Bay.
Yep.
So
Pretty incredible.
This riverway right here in Holly stretches across a good majority of Michigan.
Oh, yeah. Yep. And like I said, it is a national river trail that's been designated by the U.S. Department of the Interior. And so there's groups of people all along the river trail between here and Corunna, Friends of the Shiawassee, Shiawassee Paddlers Guild. There's several groups. But they've all come together, and they've got water monitoring service, so you can go on their website or their Facebook site and see how high the water is at different spots all along the way. They're they're putting in signage, takeouts. It's an incredible resource right here in our backyard,
Cheryl,
and we are the beginning.
Do you want to also just take 20 seconds to let maybe new people to the community also know it was only in the last couple of years that they designated our entrance as a kayak launch. I can speak, but that's fairly new,
Right. Oh, yeah, that happened during COVID, that National River Heritage Trail. And so we've got an excellent kayak launch. I just met last night with the Headwaters Trails group, who still meets first Wednesday of every month at the old police station, or at the police station here in Holly. And because we have some money available for parks this year in the budget, I asked them what they would like to see for Waterworks Park. And overwhelmingly, their number one priority would be a big enough bathroom that it could be unisex bathroom, big enough to change your clothes, and something that was, pretty bulletproof. And then after that was kayak lockers, so that you could stash your kayaks, lock them down, and then go leave your car wherever you're going to get out, ride a bike back.
because it does
Get your
get
kayak and
extremely
go.
busy. We're both fairly close neighbors
Yeah.
to this park, and
Right.
People come here from all
It's
over
busy.
to utilize our community for that, which is also a great source of economic development, and
Oh, yeah.
it's a treasure for our community. So back to you, April, and your boards and appointments.
Paul looks like
Or,
he
yeah,
has something to
Paul's got
say,
something to say.
actually.
Sorry.
I just had a quick question because you seem very knowledgeable on the Shiawassee River. It is a big thing that people always want to do.
Mm-hmm.
And start here in Holly, either in a kayak or a canoe, and go from here to Holly.
To Fenton?
No, all the way to Saginaw
Oh,
Bay.
to Saginaw.
Is there campsites along the river? Is there?
Not yet. There are
Okay.
a few, but not enough.
Heads up
Not
to
enough
local
to make it
business
all the way.
owners.
Right.
Yeah.
So is that something that is in the works? Are there places throughout the state of Michigan that are wanting to put in campsites?
I'll tell you right now, the focus is between here and Corunna. That's the organized people. That's the folks who've tapped the state, who know how to get money. Once you get beyond Corunna and Owasso, there isn't the people power in place at this time. But that is the ultimate goal. What you're talking about is the ultimate goal.
But from here to Corunna, there are campsites along the way.
There's one.
One.
There's one, it's called Walnut Woods or something. If you go online and look at the Shiawassee River resources, there's maps. They've got everything clocked out. Like if you go from here to here, it'll take you this long, and it's this tough of a paddle, and this is what you'll see along the way. They're very, very sophisticated in what they've got available.
And I'm sorry, I might have missed it, but did you say what the name of that resource was and where to find it?
I think it's the Shiawassee River Coalition.
Okay.
Yeah, it's the Shiawassee Coalition that has really pulled the most stuff together.
Because that would be for semi-experienced kayak and canoers. That would be a great start to start here in Holly and go to Corona.
Right.
And
another big news that came out of that meeting last night is I got to actually see the drawings for the put in and take out that they're going to do at Fish Lake Road, and it should be done this year or next. It's part of a road commission project, and if you're on Fish Lake Road, you know how you go down the big hill and you go over the railroad tracks and there's that little house right there? Well, they've got plans to fill and create about 8 parking spaces, and then there'll be a boardwalk that goes to the river. And all of that has been approved, it's been paid for, and it's going to happen. It's just a matter of when the road commission gets it on board. But what's nice about that kind of a paddle, to your point, for tourism, if you can get somebody to put in here in Waterworks and pull out at Fish Lake Road after a 2-hour paddle, swing around, come back downtown, have yourself a nice little dinner and some ice cream, you've just made a very nice day.
And another concern from a lot of people that want to do this is there clear passage, because there's a lot of road that runs over top of the river, and there's these tunnels.
Yep.
Now the tunnel underneath of Fish Lake Road is already a little tight, but it is accessible to go through there on a kayak or a canoe.
Okay. The Headwaters Trail people organize cleanups, and it's happening the weekend of the 21st and the 22nd. And they have teams, and they would love to have all the help they can get. There'll be a team that starts at Waterworks Park. And again, this is on their website and their Facebook, different roads along the way. And the fella who is in charge of it, the fellow who's in charge of the cleanups is really particular. Like, you don't just go in there with a chainsaw and cut up a tree and haul it off. He makes sure you cut it and you put it back down and you secure it so that you've got a fish habitat. They're very specific about how they do it, and they have teams that keep it clear all season long. And there's always, there's even a website to report if you find a tree down. You can fill out this online report and they'll come and take it out.
Now, with the waterway cleanup, is it too late for people to be a part of it?
No, it's May 21st.
And how do they be part of it?
Go on the website for the Shiawassee River Coalition or Headwaters Trails and contact them and tell them you want to be involved. It's as easy as showing up, but if you want to, make contact ahead of time, they would love to hear from you, and they need help. I was just telling Jim, I was pretty impressed with how well organized they are with their teams being here, here, and here. But yet I was hearing, but Joe isn't back from Florida yet. And then somebody else said, well, I'm willing to do shuttle, because a lot of times they'll work their way up the river, but then they got to get brought back down. So there's a variety of jobs that need to be done, and yeah, they'd love to have you. You might get a text from me.
They would love to have everybody. That is, everybody out there.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
I'd like to point out one thing. The Shiawassee River is crystal clear all the way to Fenton.
Yeah.
It is just beautiful. And if anything, if we have a drought, it can get very shallow. But other than that, it's a beautiful experience.
We're lucky enough to watch them catch sturgeon in the mill pond. We watch them haul it in. It's just unbelievable.
Now, someone did state that on one of the forums, if I recall, that they were going to go out with kayaks. I wonder who that was. I'm pointing at her now, but this is a podcast, and you can't see that public.
I've been out in the mill pond.
All right.
I've paddled around and observed and seen what's new and what crap has to be cleaned up. But no, I've not gone down the river. The Shiawassee and I have been intimate many times.
It's a great place.
Cheryl Lynn's first time on the Shiawassee to Fenton, we had to get out of the canoe 37 times to go over down trees. That doesn't exist anymore. The river is clear.
That's amazing.
Yep.
So I'm going to redirect back to April to
Yes,
finish our
ma'am.
civics. And obviously, but you know what? I think that is such an important, I mean, it's an important conversation to have. These are amazing free resources we have in Holly.
Oh, yeah.
And
And we
without-
haven't even begun to talk about everything that's available, because there are pathways, there's a bridge over the river, there's all kinds of things that we could
We
be
might
doing
need a whole
around
podcast
that
just
river.
about
Yep.
the Shiawassee.
Yep.
So,
Yep.
April, where are we at in our flow chart?
Well, and that's why it's important to know if you have an issue with a particular entity in Holly, like the parks, for example, and let's say you reach out to the parks board and you're not getting the answers that you need, who are they held accountable to? So in the case of the village, they report to the village council, which is a little bit different from the township, because the township parks are elected by the voters, but the village parks are appointed by the village council. So it's just good. It's a good thing to know that.
Well,
so,
one of the things that gets difficult with the Holly Village Parks is that they kind of just, yes, you have this commission, but then you have the DPW that has all the responsibility.
right, the DPW's got quite a bit of responsibilities. So,
Yep.
and as long as you know somewhere to turn in the first place, they can help guide you too.
Right. Yep.
And just having this picture to look at kind of breaks things down in a pretty easy way. And then we were talking a bit about how do you get into these positions, and some of these positions are hired. Was I hitting the
I'm also a precinct delegate.
Oh.
I'd like that actually matters in
Yeah.
in the context of this question when you get
Well,
in a
then
minute, and
I
I'm
will
happy to
open
tell
this.
you.
I will open this up, and then I'm going to turn a bit of this over to Kristen. So, if you wanted to seek an appointed position, you would write a letter of interest. Maybe include your resume that has relevant information, and take copies of it to the village manager or the township supervisor, whichever one is relevant to the position you're seeking. To seek a hired position, same thing. Take your resume to the village manager or the township supervisor. Maybe go to a board meeting or a council meeting and announce your interest to
Public
them.
comment.
Yep. Hey, if anybody wants to correct me, I think I saw a posting for about 4 or 5 DPW positions open right now in the village.
I think I saw that one too. It was,
Yeah.
it was on one of the forum.
They have that and
There's-
2 other job openings.
There's a couple positions open at the police department.
Yep.
There's a few things, and you can. I think you can get started by just going on
Hollyvillage.org.
Hollyvillage.org. Yeah.
Yep.
Shout out real quick to our 2 new police officers. I don't know the other gentleman, but I know Art. Of course, he's a member of the V.F.W. So shout out to Art
Wonderful.
Abraham.
Yeah.
I don't have the post in front of me with his name, but I actually stopped by there the other day with like a little goodie bag.
Outstanding.
And they are reserve officers, so of course they weren't there when I got there. And so the wonderful staff at Holly PD was like, "Oh, we get first dibs." So I said, "Well, please make sure our 2 new wonderful
we got to
officers."
find his name to give him a shout out.
Yes, if you would hand me a phone, I could give it to you in about 10 seconds. My
I'm
phone.
right on top
Oh,
of
thank
it.
you, Paul. But that was super great. And just a shout out in general to our village police department. Chief Narsh is just such a great leader, and really, like, I just love every time I have to encounter anyone. I have told them I think their department should like kind of set the bar.
Are you just trying to get him to sign away a ticket, or?
Nope. I drive like a grandma, so it is. I don't have that problem.
We
But-
are giving a very warm welcome to Art Ingraham and Ryan Hocker,
Yep.
both new officers of the Holly Police Department. If you see them, please give them a firm handshake and a pat on the back.
And a warm welcome.
And I saw them at the farmer's market on Sunday morning, which
They were
shout
also
out
at-
to the farmer's market
Yep. They
people.
were also at the blessing of the bikes that I was
Okay.
able to attend this past weekend.
Is that what was going on this weekend? I saw a big crowd out there.
Yes,
and
that is-
every-
That was nothing.
That was
okay,
nothing.
I'm excited. I've heard about these car shows.
And you know
coming
what?
out.
Since he's here, can we give a shout out to a new little piece of information I found out this last week, which is someone sitting at this table was actually one of the founding members of having our annual Blessings of the Bikes here. Not the same organization, but Mr. Jim Clark.
That's right.
It started with me and Jim Sherman. he wanted to have an antique motorcycle rally here. He had a friend who hosted those mainly for British bikes like Norton's. So the first year, we had dozens of antique bikes, and the Harley folks kind of took over, and now about 98% of the bikes that show up are Harleys, which is just fine, but there's a local group of born-again bikers that have taken it over, and they do a pretty good job.
They really
Yes, they
do.
do.
Everybody
Yes, they
was
do.
wonderful. It was super nice to just go down and see everyone this year. But it was definitely, the weather was not too great. But that's probably a third maybe
Yeah.
of what's normally there.
No.
But I think the point, I just want to make one
Oh,
point.
please.
This was pretty simple. Jim and Jim knew of this lady. She had this event called Susie's, and she was going to be sick and couldn't have it. So they just said, hey, let's do this. And Jim Sherman's wife, Kim, was the executive at the Chamber of Commerce. And so they pulled this thing together in a matter of a few months. And that was, what did I tell you? I look back, that was 14 years ago.
At least.
So you never know what little nugget you plant.
Well, and where are we starting now, ladies and gentlemen? This is the ground floor with the 1MC. We've got this and a newsletter coming out here shortly.
There you go.
Now, this is a great segue for some of the upcoming events. I know, Kristen, you've got a laptop in front of you. You can give us an idea of what we've got coming up.
Do you want me to? And that's fine, Rodney. I
you
thank you for
tell
your
me.
time.
You
But I'm
got-
wondering if you want to. I know we're kind of, it's a podcast, so it's kind of cool. You can kind of come in and out of different conversations. But I definitely don't want to make sure that we don't miss out on the rest of her flow chart.
Oh, are we?
I'm sorry, April. But I don't know. You want to finish that out and do events?
DDA.
I
Or-
segued. I apologize.
We can do that.
No, I just want to be respectful and make sure that our public doesn't get lost.
Oh, we
in
can
events
close this
and-
out real quick.
Yeah, let's
the
April
last thing we
finish
were
and
going
we'll
to
talk about events.
Yeah, the last thing we were going to talk about here was how to run for office, because I think that should be. Okay, I guess it's probably technically public information, but if we were to ask people off the street, how do you run for office? Like, how do you begin? How many people do you think would be able to say, "Oh, you would do this"?
Very few.
Absolutely zero.
Thank you,
So-
Paul. So you start off by going to register with the clerk at 300 East Street, Holly, Michigan, 48442. She's going to give you some paperwork. You can choose to petition signatures, or you can pay $100. Or
Or you can sign an affidavit as a write-in candidate.
How
That
many
is true.
signatures out of curiosity is
I
that?
think it was
Depend-
25.
hold
Well, I
on.
guess it
depends on what you're
role.
running for.
Yeah.
It's I think 25 for village
25
council.
for village
Let's
council.
not confuse people with numbers. The clerk will
She'll
tell
tell
you
you.
how
Or
many
he,
you need
depending who
because
it is.
it is different.
Yeah.
For each.
Yeah. So there's an affidavit of identity paperwork. There's a statement of organization form. You'll be assigned a committee number. And now I haven't gone over this for a final edit. So,
You want me
What?
to chime in anything?
yes, that's where I wanted
Okay.
you to take
So
over.
this is
anything I
actually a
missed here-
really great. Where did you leave off here?
For appointment.
Those were the 5 right there.
Oh, and then to Steve.
We already did those.
Okay, so I'm going to go off the cuff here because this is actually a super great opportunity for anyone listening that lives in Holly to know. Because as active as I am in the community, whether that be through community service or running for office or helping other people understand, just networking and resources, I had no idea 2 years ago what in the world a precinct delegate was. And I want people to know what that means because this is also a great way to serve your community. And I'll be honest with you, it's important, but it's not, you don't have to attend weekly meetings. You don't have to do, it doesn't hold the same responsibilities as, for instance, a board member or what have you. And so a precinct delegate is really the tiniest little thing you can be in your respective precinct of your area. So Holly has 4 precincts, 2 in the township, 2 in the village. I live in precinct 2. Without getting into like deep, no political divisiveness. I'm just educating the public.
Right.
The Republican Party has precinct delegates. The Democratic Party has precinct delegates.
Right.
In our community, we do have, I think Sandra Clevin is still one, and a couple other. We have several on both party lines. I, for the sake of transparency, am a Democratic precinct delegate. But that really doesn't matter to me too much because it's really about finding and talking to people in your community to run for local office. And who knows your community better than we do? We all live amongst each other. We find common ground and finding just great people. So that's where, April, you're running for village council. Like, we had that conversation like a long time ago. So it's really kind of cool. But when you go to do that, if you find other precinct delegates in your area, they will help you actually get your paperwork, help circulate your petitions. Like, 'cause if maybe you don't have time to go do that and you want to run for office. So that's just something like to just be a resource and an assistant. And you do have to be elected to be one. But I will tell you that Holly's has tons of empty spaces on that ballot. So just letting you know, it's too late to sign up now, but in 2 years, if you want to be one, you could vote for yourself literally and be elected, because we have a bunch of empty seats on both sides of the aisle.
That's
so
interesting.
We would love to see more people do that, but it's super fun. And you get to have a lot of great opportunities. But Karen Winchester over at the clerk's office will give you paperwork and answer any questions. So will Amy and Kelly, right? Am I losing it tonight? Bilby.
Christy?
Christy. Oh my gosh.
Christy
Christy,
Bilby.
if you're listening, I am so sorry. I need more coffee.
Rodney, could you edit this section, please?
Yes, please edit that out. We don't need the township after me tonight. Sorry. But no, those ladies will help you. And some things you may have to go down to Pontiac to the county for, like the school board.
A lot of stuff is done through email
do?
now, too, especially since COVID.
Yep, that too. So if you don't know, it's as simple as walking into the village or township offices and asking a question, or you may contact any of the local precinct delegates, and we can help you through that process.
That's
Now,
great.
I noticed one thing. They're closed on Fridays. Is that not correct?
Yes, and
Correct.
that is because they actually work longer hours Monday through Thursday.
Oh.
That has also come up in forums many a time.
I missed them today. I was late.
Yeah,
Yep.
they're closed on Fridays though. Is there anything else about like running for office that and you know what, we should also point out that even though we focused on the village tonight, the village council and the Holly Township Library Board, on which April and I both serve, are both nonpartisan
It's true.
elected positions. So you don't have to run. We have a lot of independents that live here in Holly too. You don't have to identify with any party. You can just run as the wonderful citizen that you are
Yep.
and make a difference.
And I also wanted to bring it to attention. It doesn't matter how long you have lived in Holly. You can always be an active part.
100%.
We have many members here currently that are not, Holly by birth. Doesn't mean that they're not Holly by heart. No
Thank
matter
you,
how
Paul.
long,
Put that on a bumper sticker.
no matter how long you have lived here, you can always be. You could have been living here in Holly for 2 days, and you can be an active part of this community.
True story.
Once you move to Holly, you are Holly.
What did you say earlier?
I
Did
know,
you patent that?
we need to trademark that.
We need
immediately.
to,
That
or
was
is that
good.
like no,
It's
I
recorded.
said
Yeah, we're gonna rewind.
It's
Yeah.
recorded.
not born Holly, but Holly by heart or something?
Yes.
Okay.
That's great.
You know,
Figure that out.
I've got to tell you, when Paul and I met, we were both Grand Marshal at the
Welcome home parade.
Welcome Home Parade, and he is random poignancy guy. That's his gig. That's his bag. So, yeah,
I don't know what that means.
yeah, I'm not sure if I do it.
I'm just being honest.
Oh, just, what he said was just now randomly poignant.
Oh, yeah.
kinda.
Right. I didn't understand what you said. there.
yeah,
I
Sorry.
thought you said Bradley somebody.
Oh,
That is so funny. Well, I just met Paul.
random poignancy
Poignant,
guy.
very good.
We didn't
Yeah.
meet Paul. We came down to the bunker to check it out with Rodney. I just met you guys. If that's the thing about Holly, though, you
Yes.
meet somebody and you're like, hey, we found all this cool common interest and common ground, and let's get stuff done. And here we are, 3 weeks later, doing a podcast.
One of my favorite
It's
things
wild.
about the town. The second I arrived, I get introduced to one person, and that person introduces me to two more.
It's the Kevin Bacon game.
Or
Yeah.
that's how Paul got thrown under the bus. I was searching for veterans for
That
our
was me.
VSOs, and April
You're
just was
welcome.
like, "Here you go. Here's a young veteran out there,
Yeah.
and we're searching for more."
Well,
and we like to dress up and have parties.
we do.
It's true.
We certainly do. So, Rodney, do you want me to talk about events real quick? Because we've got there is always something going on in Holly.
Real quick, now that we're done with the flow charts and everything, I just had one quick question. Is there any way that you can put this out there for everyone in the Holly community? I don't know if that flow chart is accessible via the internet. If it is not, it definitely should be.
One of the first places I intend to put it when I'm just a little bit further done editing is in the Holly group, and I'm well aware that there's lots of other Holly groups. So I am going to invite people who are members of those groups to share it with those admins and those moderators and get that out there online. It'll be probably a PDF file unless somebody comes up with a better idea for me on how to share it on Facebook. And then beyond that, I will have a copy at the library. I will have a copy at the township offices. I already got permission from George Cullis. And I'm going to ask Jerry Walker if we can have a copy up at the village offices.
I'm sure he would be thrilled
well.
to have it.
I'm sure he wouldn't mind at all. Yeah. So, and he actually helped, both George and Jerry helped me edit this too when we were talking about the different entities and governing bodies. So, yeah, that's my starting points. And then after that, it can be, feel free to share it anywhere that you like.
Yeah. Well, and I think it's just a great place to start.
Yep.
There's always a question from, let's not talk about those water bills, but water.
Okay, actually, let's bring up water for a minute.
Actually,
what?
okay,
Speaking
April
of
wants to
water
get
bills,
down in
everybody
that.
wants to
No,
dive
what?
into
I
this
have-
one. Oh, there
I was
it
going to
goes.
say maybe services should be a whole nother
No,
night.
I have a page on here
We got
for
a 16,000
I have a
gallon
page
bill
on here
the
for,
other
for
month.
water, waste management, recycling, village repair, and utilities. But let's just talk about the water part just for a minute. There's so much confusion about how our water gets paid for. Why can't we get taxes from this or that? The idea of taxes from the marijuana dispensaries that we opted into has been brought up by a ton of people. I was one of the first ones. That can't happen, and there's a reason why.
Yep.
A water enterprise, that means the water system is to be operated. I'm going to say fancy words first, and then I'll break it down into one sentence that's super easy to understand. So it's operated by the participant for sale of water to its customers within the jurisdiction. It means the agency's domestic water system, including all the facilities and everything else, distribution, is contractual rights to the water, etc. Look up enterprise for yourselves online to see what that means.
And that's not Star Trek, by the way.
It just means
yeah,
that
not the Starship Enterprise, you guys.
it means it's a fund that can only have money go in for this purpose and out for this purpose.
Correct.
It can't make money. It can't lose money.
Which means that the money is collected for water, can only be used for our water, and that we cannot use other monies for our water. I love the idea of the marijuana dispensary taxes being used to help us pay off our water bond. It can't happen, though.
Well,
if it were to happen, it would have to go to the state level, and apparently that's just not something that ever happens. So this is not a local thing. This isn't something we can deal with in the village or in the township.
State law.
So I think I'm really glad that we went ahead and addressed that tonight, because it's not an answer most people enjoy hearing, but it comes up so often. And the truth of the matter is, I think that that entire topic is great for finding bigger solutions, but there's just nothing to be done at this time.
It's part of the nuts and bolts of Holly. Ooh, maybe that's what I'll call the binder.
Yeah, the
The
nuts and
nuts
bolts
and
of
bolts of
Holly.
it. I like
Nuts
that.
and
I like
bolts
that.
of
It's got a
Holly,
good
yeah.
spin
But
to it.
I
There
will
you
say,
go.
I think that if anyone listening and cares about these issues, I will say that I am thrilled that the American Recovery Acts Fund, our parks, our village parks, those 5 that she mentioned earlier, just received from, we got $600,000+ awarded to the village, and $100,000 of that was added to our village parks budget. It sounds like a ton of money. It's a nothing. It's a drop in the bucket. But when you only have $15,000 available for capital projects, and someone gives you $100, let's get those playgrounds fixed. Let's get those parks cleaned up, or a bathroom, or whatever it needs to be done. So if you care about parks, and we do have a lot of people that deeply care about these parks, because this is where our children play, and visitors come, I highly recommend, if you can't attend meetings, we have working class people that are working 1, 2, 3 jobs trying to afford groceries at this point with inflation. So what I would say is, you can look up also on hollyvillage.org. You may go there and see who your council members are. You can also see who's on the Parks Commission. email them, give them your ideas. If you can't attend a meeting, send in your input, because your voice matters in the way this money is going to be spent and the master plan updated.
Exactly.
What you got, Paul?
And another big thing that I wanted to bring up is you don't always have to wait for a park cleanup to happen.
How many have we scheduled,
Amen.
Sherilyn? We do it all the
Amen.
time.
If you make it to the park with your children or by yourself, you want to take a walk.
Yep.
If you see trash, pick it up. If you see something broken, let people know. You don't have to wait for a cleanup to happen. You, as an active member of the community, can always help out in any way possible. And you know, if you start cleaning up, people will notice.
Yep.
People always notice.
It's also contagious.
It is contagious.
People start feeling lazy watching you clean things.
Yeah.
They start picking up their space.
Exactly.
Well, this is a great segue, is what I was saying, into events, because I'm going to click on this so that I make sure I don't know how to work your fancy computer, Rodney. There we go. So we're going to talk about, I think, to close this out maybe, on events. So obviously there's always a ton of events going on in Holly, but as spring is upon us, tomorrow actually, I don't know if this is going to be edited and posted by tomorrow.
It'll probably take 2 days to get this out and edited.
Well, hopefully by the time you hear this, hopefully yesterday
will have been.
you will have been at the spring cleanup. But the spring cleanup for Holly residents, actually, which is scheduled for the 7th, is actually where you may go to the Carl Richter Center at 920 Baird Street. And this is a place where they are offering free shredding, metal scrapping, general disposal. So if you have stuff that you cannot put out on your curb, this is where you take it. Now, if you miss this because you're hearing this late, just know that this is something I believe they do in the fall as well. So I think twice a year.
Township activity.
And is it? I'm sorry.
It's
township
It's a township activity.
But village people can
Of
utilize
course.
it as well.
Rodney,
Now,
can you?
I saw the
help me with this too?
Facebook post of that, and it really threw me off. I noticed Shirley pointed at me. It came up as spring cleanup, and it showed that it was in a parking lot. I honestly, I was like, "Are we cleaning a parking lot?"
Well, I will tell you, I don't think it is on Facebook yet, but the Village Parks Commission, I figured it out. I am technologically not okay sometimes, and Rodney's helping me. So the Village Parks Commission actually does their annual spring cleanup, and they typically they pick a park usually to
Yeah.
focus on, and it had been Waterworks the last couple years, but I do believe after much outcry, and I've been part of that outcry, I believe the focus will end up being on Lakeside this year, because Lakeside Park is a treasure of our community, and it is in need of a facelift and some cleanup. So look on Facebook. You'll see that popping up soon, where they just get volunteers in the Parks Commission. They go out and really focus on one park. But there are other community organizations. I'm not trying to plug all ours, but I co-founded Hollyax, and we actually put on the Women's Memorial. But there are other organizations, if you're a Boy Scout, Girl Scout, and other volunteer services. So keep an eye out for those cleanups.
Okay, I'm just going to say May 21st for the Shiawassee River cleanup, 21st and 22nd, and get your information from the Shiawassee River Coalition.
Okay, and then yet again, tomorrow is Holly Mother's Day. Shout out to all our mamas out there. It's the Holly Farmers Market. Of course, you'll be hearing this after that's over, but the Holly Farmers Market is every single Sunday, rain or shine, at Crapo Park from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. And
with about 50 vendors, I think, is what I was
Or
told
more.
this last
I saw a
weekend.
sizable crowd when I drove by.
it's like, and we get a little, we've had mixed reviews on that. Like sometimes it's like, it's just too much. And some people love that.
Yeah.
So I don't know, go see your favorite vendors out there and support local small businesses.
Exactly.
And eat fresh vegetables. Be healthy. We encourage you. I'm not sure about this mommy and me with goats.
I don't know, but there's a lot of farmland out here, and I
There
love all
is.
this,
I
this
think actually
4-H stuff and everything.
Yeah,
I'm digging it,
this
man.
event is actually a photo. It's photos by Alicia. It's not a community held event, but it is an event by a local member who has baby goats, and you can come take your pictures with baby goats.
Ooh.
I mean, who doesn't want to do that, really?
I don't.
I would do it. I love baby goats. But that is going to be happening Saturday, May 14th. So that's next weekend. So if you want to go chill with some baby goats, go do it.
Oh,
you wanna
sorry.
go, Jim?
I'm going to meet William Shatner, so I won't be there.
Are you serious?
Yes.
He's an astronaut, you know that, right?
Yes, I know.
And if y'all don't know, April, president of our library board,
Yeah.
and hopefully
Motor City Comic Con.
I'm voting
actually
for her
going
for
with
village council, but she's a Star Trek junkie.
Mike Mishler, Joe's son.
Yes.
He's going with me.
Oh my gosh.
We're sharing the price to get a pic with him.
What costume
my
will you
gosh.
wear?
I'm wearing my TOS corset dress. It's going to have
So-
his picture all over it, which he's going to dig that.
I
right?
wonder if you could host an event when you come back where people could take a picture with April Brandon, who took a picture
right?
with
Yeah.
William Shatner.
Just hold up the photo of you
I'm
and
just
him,
saying.
and then they'll stand next to you like a weird Madame Tussauds kind of
He's,
shot.
he covered Rocket Man. I don't know if you guys heard it, but it was amazingly awful. It was so good.
Yeah,
It was so bad.
He's
It
like
was
a
so good.
spoken word artist,
And
kinda
he's
type,
actually
you
a
know?
Rocket Man now. Like
Yes,
for
he
real.
is.
That's
Yes,
who I
he
want to
is.
come back as. I want to come back as
I
William
noticed
Shatner.
when he
My
came
next
down
life. Boy,
too.
that guy's had a ball.
Speaking of the humorous aspects of when he landed, when they started doing all the interviews,
Yeah.
they cut him off.
Bezos
You know?
cut him off. That was so rude.
I know he was like he was gonna get all emotional.
I threw
and
my
he's like-
laptop.
he's
I
like-
was so angry at Bezos. How dare you cut off Mr. Shatner, Mr. Bezos? Good Lord, I don't care if you're a billionaire that sends rockets
So
into
what
outer
if it's your
space.
rocket?
Okay,
That
well,
is Captain
I want
Kirk.
to.
Show some respect.
I want to just, as I'm looking at these events to talk about, I will say, so that's what's going on in May. We have Holly Farmers Market every Sunday. Also, if you're a senior in the community, New Generation Seniors of Holly meets, I believe, at the Carl Richter Center. I'm not sure. They changed for a minute, but I'm pretty sure right now they're still at the Carl Richter Center. So this is a wonderful group of seniors in our community. And let me tell you, we take care, we're a Purple Heart community. We take care of our veterans. We also take care of our seniors, and they take care of each other. So if you are, maybe you're widowed, maybe or divorced, or maybe you are a couple and you're a senior and maybe you're new to town or you just don't get out much, hook up with them. Angie Lemon, I believe, co-founded the New Generation Seniors of Holly. And if you don't know Angie and Roger Lemon, that's one of the best veteran and families in our community, and
Like, I
just
love Angie.
all
I know
around
her-
people.
I've met her a few
If
times.
you don't
when
like
I'm around.
Angie,
She
I don't even
bounces
want to be
a
around you.
lot.
I don't understand that. I couldn't understand it.
It's a non-issue. Everybody loves
Everyone
Angie.
loves Angie, and we'll give a shout out to her because she has she is a
Surgery.
beloved member of this community, and she's been having some health issues she's been open about, but she's doing okay and about to have some surgery. So let's send some vibes out
We
to
love
her.
you,
We love you,
Angie.
Angie Lemon. And then lastly, I definitely want to mention, this is personal to my heart. So last year, for the very first time, we have had a lot of new people that have moved to Holly from out of state, from the burbs, who really seek this simple, quiet, like communal life that we have here. And I think we have people that live here that want to live here. They love the culture of our community. But what that's brought is a lot more different multi-generational people living here, different schools of thought, and a little more diversity, which I love to see. And last year we hosted the very first ever Holly Pride. That's never happened here before. And it was hosted at Venue 111. Big shout out to Vincent Curry, great members of our community. And this year we actually have a committee, and we threw that together in 2 weeks last year. This year, it's been a labor of love, and I'd like to say we have somewhere between 17 and 20 businesses who are sponsoring, donating. We have Oakland County Executive Dave Coulter is going to be our keynote speaker. This is going to be on June 7th at Venue 111 at 111 College Street. And Miss April Brandon actually is going to be speaking and so is Police Chief Jerry Narsh and several other really esteemed speakers. I am also excited to say that our Holly High School show choir is performing.
I saw that on Facebook. They got licensing for special music. What are we doing?
It's The Greatest Showman. This is me. They'll be opening the show, and we have a special Holly student performing to close the show. We have people from all over Oakland County and the Tri-County area who are coming to support our community, and it's going to be awesome.
I'm going to run a voter registration table.
She is, and we'll have mental health resources and all kinds of stuff. And then,
I don't know if you guys have ever been to any events that Kristen's put together, but she can put together an event.
Yes,
Well,
ma'am.
I know how to have an
You're here.
idea and collaborate with people, but I can't. I want to tell you, and I don't want to take too much time on it, but this is such a this event meant so much to so many people, and you wouldn't even believe it. The
Yep.
people that we met last year, and I'll share this with the community because I think it's a big deal. There was a elderly couple who have lived here for 40 plus years that showed up last year, and the two gentlemen kind of hobbled on up to the front steps, and they just looked at us like,
Where'd you
what is
land from?
happening here? And I said, this is the first ever Holly Pride. And one of them literally, like, tears started running down his face. They'd lived here for 40 years in obscurity. And that just changed my life that day. Like, to see people, like, I think we are an inclusive community.
Yes, we are.
I think we are. I don't know why we don't brag about it more often. So anyway, this year I want to give a huge shout out, though, to the businesses and the people, so many community members. And
Fundraiser.
I got one Battle Alley coffee. I've had nothing but positive experiences.
Oh, my
over there.
God.
We did a podcast interview.
Give me my
We'll be putting
gingerbread
that in
latte
here.
right now. I'm going to plug the gingerbread latte. And let me tell you, Pete and Linda Stouffer are sweet people, and this coffee is the best freaking coffee.
And every single employee.
And Courtney, let me tell you, I start every morning with Courtney at 7 a.m. Let me tell you, when she's working. But Shelby and Claire and Annie and all the girls over there at Battle Alley Coffee, it's just such a wonderful environment. So, but I do want to give a shout out really quickly to those sponsors, and then I'll move on. I want to give a big shout out to Holly Lanes and Brian.
Ooh, Brian. He's my spirit animal.
Yeah, that's what he called me. We might have to fight.
Did he steal
He's
my?
cheating on me. Anyway, Brian.
We have
is
Fight
our
Club coming up next
Fight Club,
week.
Holly Fight Club.
Yep. Fight Club podcast.
Brian over at Holly Lanes is not only the headlining sponsor for Holly Pride this year, but we're also doing a second fundraising event on June. So Holly Pride is June 7th. June 11th is the Bowling for Pride. Right. Ticketed event. All proceeds from fundraisers happening at these events are going to the Holly High School GSA Club, Common Grounds.
I'm sorry, what's the GSA Club?
The GSA Club is the Gay Straight Alliance.
Thank you.
And anyway, so he is our headlining sponsor, the Holly Vault Collection, and Blooms, Holly Antiques and Creative Fashions. These are our top sponsors. And numerous other businesses in the community, from Maruka's Kitchen, Backroads Bar and Grill, the new Battle Alley Brewing Company, or is it brewery? I don't want to say it
Battle
wrong.
Alley Brewing. And stop real quick. We got to back it up to Maruka's Kitchen.
Oh, yes, let's talk about
Those are
those
the best
chicken tacos.
I've found.
They have a new
oh,
torta sandwich. Get it in your spirit.
Plug. Love them.
Love them.
But the general manager from Battle Alley Brewing loves everything about Maruka's Kitchen.
All the owners over there
I get
come
to
over
say that because the general manager is my roommate.
Yes, that is true. But we love those folks, and let's see who else. But when is Battle Alley Brewing open? Battle Alley Brewery.
Tentatively this month, maybe as late as next month.
Great owners.
Well, rumor has it an IPA is on the menu there.
Yes. Yes, it is.
It's fantastic.
I can't talk. I have insider information. My roommate will kick my butt.
Okay, we won't talk about that anymore. But anyway, there's tons of other businesses involved in this that are all over the area, and we're really thankful for that. And I'm thinking, other than
Well, I got one shout out I want to make
Say.
to Nancy Hanks.
okay,
She's been helping me with the 1MC project, and she is with. And let me make sure I get the business right here.
It's real estate.
It is house to home real estate. Thank you,
Awesome.
Nancy, for giving us a hand there. I just wanted to throw that out there.
is there anyone else we need to plug tonight? There's so many places to plug. I think we're good.
I don't want to plug anybody, but I did want to mention some of the Holly Veteran Services.
Yes, let's definitely do that.
I'm adding the GSA in my phone as a note to add to my list of resources, but I won't talk about resources tonight. I'll just talk about the Veteran Services. The Gay Straight Alliance, I didn't know that existed. The only local services, not local, the only services I knew of available for the Pride community was Pride Counseling Online, honestly. So I'm really glad to hear that there's the GSA.
Yep.
So-
So I can connect you with the two that
Yeah.
sponsor it.
So
They actually have stickers in the classrooms of the teachers
Oh,
that
that's
they
amazing.
know are going to be
So is this a youth-only alliance, or?
Yeah, it's through the high school.
Okay, good for me to note. Thank you. So Rodney already mentioned the V.F.W. and the American Legion. He mentioned the Holly Area Veterans Resource Center. We also have the Honor Guard and the Great Lakes National Cemetery. We have Alternative Veterans Fellowship, which is on Maple Street in Holly. The United Veterans of Michigan. We have the Honorable Veterans Housing. And if you need that number, it's 810-337-8062. We also have Vets Returning Home, and that's a little bit further away. But if you know of any veterans that are struggling with homelessness, Vets Returning Home is a wonderful nonprofit organization. And the last local one is Veterans with Constrictive Bronchiolitis. Is that a thing that's popular for like the combat era veterans to have from Vietnam or anything?
I don't know that I've ever heard it.
It's such a specific.
Bronchiolitis.
It's such a
It
specific.
sounds like
I
respiratory.
think it's-
Agent Orange, perhaps?
Maybe
or
that's kind of what I'm wondering.
No, you know how they're
Oh,
doing those
the burn
big
pits.
burning
The
bases.
burn pits.
Oh,
The
okay.
burn
That's
pits.
what
Which,
that's from.
by
Okay.
the way, I don't know if it's on there. Did you mention the Hometown Heroes?
Oh, I did not. I will add that in my notes to add to this tomorrow.
Yep.
Thank you.
Okay.
And burn pits, you might want to talk to Congresswoman Slotkin because I know she was
Yep. She's been big
involved
on
in
that.
doing that.
Kristen, can you tell me what that was called one more time?
The Hometown Heroes.
Hometown Heroes. Thank you.
Now, Holly, we do have a big event coming that's being
Oh,
hosted
good.
by the American Legion, and this is going to be the Vietnam Memorial Wall coming through town. This is coming through August 3rd through the 8th. We'd love you to come out and see it, and if you've got any extra time on your hands and you'd love to lend a hand, we'll need a little bit of help in an effort to make this a success.
How
Thank
about the
you.
Mother's Day breakfast? And
Oh,
we do.
yeah.
That's on
I'll be
Sunday.
here. I'll be here for biscuits and gravy.
We'll all be here.
Are we
well-
having biscuits and gravy again?
We are.
I'll be here then.
And while on the topic of
Biscuits and gravy?
That's this Sunday, Mother's Day, 8:30
that too,
to
you
12.
can never miss out on some biscuits and gravy. Make sure you're there for breakfast.
Are you going to be
That's right.
serving in the apron like the rest of the veterans
Did you get a frilly
do?
one?
Did you
Jerry
get a-
Narsh has a frilly apron. He's chief of police.
He
Paul.
does.
Frilly?
Oh,
Frilly.
yes.
Frilly.
Let me tell you how manly these vets are. They
yeah.
put on those frilly aprons and serve up those pancakes, and they are the best.
We're secure in our masculinity. As well.
It
Excellent.
sounds like I need to go
Take it to the
shopping.
tree line.
Yep,
That's what
take
I
it to the
learned.
tree line.
I don't know. That's something I learned last time.
No,
I was there.
what I was saying though is on the topic of veterans assistance. It doesn't matter. Out of all of these organizations, it does not matter if you are or are not a member of any of these organizations. Reach out. You can always reach out to any one of us if you don't feel comfortable going to some of these big name widespread organizations. I know there's suicide prevention hotlines, especially for veterans as well. If you don't feel comfortable, you can come to any of these organizations. We are a friendly small town groups. We're all groups of friendly small town neighbors. Always feel comfortable coming to any one of us.
All right, so we got one that's going to be popping out of the studio here. Sherilyn, would you like to say goodbye to the crowd?
I would like to say good night and goodbye to everybody. Thank you so much. I hope you enjoyed this podcast. Jim, you want to say anything?
Good night.
It's like a good night and good
And
luck.
thank you
I
so
know.
much to the Legion and to Rodney for helping pull this all
Yeah,
together.
and the
Thank you.
VFW. Thank
An
you
absolute
guys.
pleasure. So, ladies and gentlemen,
Hi, guys.
you have been listening
See
to
you
the
at
1MC. The 1MC is a new podcast we've launched here in the Holly community, hosted by the VFW in partnership with the American Legion. We broadcast here in the basement level of the American Legion, a secret speakeasy hidden away that we affectionately refer to as the bunker. We'll be coming to you from time to time. We'll be posting this online. The first one's going to go on Facebook, and then we're going to go live, ladies and gentlemen. So we will see you in the near to immediate future. Looking forward to it.